Hello and welcome to the Petticoated Swashbuckler. My name is Maren and today we are jazzing this lady up. For my past couple of videos you've seen me create a white wool kirtle, you've seen me create a red velvet gown. It's not quite finished yet because I'm still waiting for a bit of embroidery and some more trim, but I've jazzed her up as much as I can. And you can see she's looking good, she's looking good. I'll probably still have to do something about the placard because it's a little wide, and it might be a little tall. It might have to go like a centimetre down, something like that. But all in all, yeah, she's looking good. Now this is a very fancy gown, you know, it's velvet. I've used cotton velvet because that's more similar in quality to the velvet of the 1500s than the silk velvet that you can find today, generally. But it's a velvet gown, it's got silk lined sleeves. I'm planning on making separate like fur linings for these. You can see she's wearing a beaded girdle, she's wearing some pearls and some ouches up here. Both of these I bought on Etsy. I'll link the shop down below. But there's some things that kind of make her look less fancy. And it's mostly the things you can't see from this angle. Hang on. So because this gown is open, hang on. Hi. Because this gown is open, you get, because it's a French style gown, you get a very good look at the kirtle underneath. And the kirtle underneath is very plain, it's plain white wool, which really isn't ideal for this sort of ensemble. White wool would be fairly inexpensive, which is one of the reasons why I chose it, because I want to wear this kirtle with less fancy outfits as well. But it does mean that this beautiful gown looks kind of less fancy because of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover it, and we're going to do that in the period way by using a forepart. Now, my friend Tudor, I'm just going to kneel down here so you can see me and the skirt at the same time. My friend Tudor is a great machine embroiderer. She's really good at it. And she has embroidered for me using patterns lifted from a portrait of Henry VIII by an Etsy shop called Art Embroidery. This luscious forepart. Like, it is so beautiful. It's embroidered on silk. And this thing took it took like 18 hours or something to embroider, machine embroider with a really quick embroidery machine. And that's not even counting all the hours she spent like measuring, framing, tweaking the embroidery files, all of that, that she's really good at, and I'm not. So yeah, this is a really impressive piece of fabric, and it is supposed to go there, but underneath here, see? So really it will cover the front of the kirtle in a way something like this. See, that's a lot more fancy, isn't it? So what I'm going to do with this now is I'm going to line it, and then I have loads and loads of little white pearls that I'm going to attach to it to just jazz it up even more. Now, one thing is this, I'm just going to plop this here. This is not how it's going to look when it's done, but just gives us kind of a visual reference. This is to make it look like my kirtle underneath is super fancy. Like, I want it to look like I'm actually wealthy enough to afford an embroidered silk kirtle under my dress, a garment that you will see very little of. And to complete that kind of visual cheat, I have also had embroidered by Tudor these, and they're called Foresleeves, and they are basically like sleeves, separate sleeves. You put them on like so, and they should be kind of poofed and lovely around here. And do you remember when we made these sleeves? I made some little, like there's a linen lining, and there are some of these kind of little tabs. That is what this is going to be attached to. So it should look like I'm also wearing really posh embroidered sleeves on my kirtle underneath. And to complete all of it, hang on. This is a piece that she kind of started with. She wasn't happy with it. We did it again, but this piece I will cut up and I will attach up here to make it look like basically to my kirtle underneath, just to kind of give the illusion of this entirely embroidered kirtle, when in real life it's like a little bit of it. So this needs to be lined and bedazzled. These also need to be lined and bedazzled, and I'm contemplating like cutting some slashes in between these. I'm also going to like attach some extra length to these so that they can attach up here and still be visible down here, you know, like this. And then these need bedazzling as well. So that's the plan. You want to come along? The forepart was fairly simple. I started by cutting the embroidered piece to size. I cut a piece of fairly sturdy linen that kind of matched it in size, folded the raw edges in and stitched it all together. The really big job with the forepart was attaching all of the pearls, but I think they look amazing. Some of them are close enough that I could just kind of let the thread run on, whereas most of them I just kind of attached the pearl, cut the thread, moved on to the next pearl. In hindsight, it would have been really smart to do this before I lined it, but this isn't a backside that's ever going to see any wear. It's not really going to be, you know, subjected to anything except the skirts of my kirtle, so it's fine. The Foresleeves were a bit more of a palaver. I began by cutting out the embroidered pieces. I then cut out some linings in linen. I'm actually using an old linen shift here, so if you see some weird seams, that's why. Before lining the sleeves, I cut some pieces of sturdy linen and attached those to the sleeves between the kind of rows of embroidery. I drew in the size that I wanted my slashes to be and stitched around. I also went in and whip stitched around the opening after I cut it to avoid any fraying. This white silk is beautiful, but it frays like nobody's business. I then turned the linen facings in. And prick stitched around the opening just to keep that facing in place. Just to make sure that this would be flat, because this is a piece that is going to be on display a lot. I also just quickly whip stitched the facings to the back of the silk. I want something fancy to come out of my slashings, and as I'm not sure yet whether I'll actually have time to make a shift, I decided to get some silk, I think it's silk organdy or some sort of very, very thin silk satin that I just had laying around, a piece left over from another project. I made loads of little gathering stitches, pinned it to the inside of the sleeve, and then gathered it up. And stitched it in place. So you can see the result is very poofy and definitely something that will look very good. A lot of the faux sleeves I've seen in period images seem to have some sort of bias tape or tape covering the edges, so I did that with some black satin bias tape. I also stitched the silk sleeves to the linings. I hemmed the upper kind of edge of the lining. That's also where I attached some tape. It's just plain cotton tape. It's just so that I can attach it to the inside of my gown. I got to attach some pearls to my sleeves. We got these ouches, that's the name for these types of embellishments. We got them that cheap. I think we bought them from like AliExpress or something. Not necessarily something I'd recommend for like historical accuracy, but these look very similar to period ones, so I'm very happy with them. And they work really well. I attached one on each end of each slashing, and I'm going to use some more in a minute. Taking another piece of the silk that I had, just gathering that up, stitching that together. Folding it inside out, or more like outside out. And making some gatherings along it. This is what will be the poofs along the lower edge of my sleeves. Pin those in place and stitch them in to make sure that they didn't go anywhere and they looked the way I wanted them to. Covered each gathered bit of the poof with an ouch. And this is the final sleeves. Well, almost final. I added a few more ouches. By the time you see this, I have actually attended the ball that I made this for, together with my good friend Tudor, who did all of the machine embroidery. And although I am super happy with the way it turned out, there were a couple of things that I wanted to change and that I thought I'd fix before I showed it to you guys today. The main thing being the strip along the top of the placard or stomacher. I thought it would look good. It didn't. It's too kind of sticky uppy. I want to move it from the placard to the girdle, so that's what I'm going to do. The reason why I put it there in the first place is because this edge of the gown was visible above the... Do you remember very early in the movie I said that the placard was a little high? I took it down a little, but that made this visible. So I've just cut a bit out, covered that with bias tape, and that should solve that problem. I also made some glorious fake fur sleeve linings. And I'm ready to show you the result. And to complete that kind of I can't talk.